this day and age should know that shit by now. The news will tell you what to think. Not, don't believe your lying eyes, man. So I think it's totally possible that we've been lied to on a species level. Not even just like, oh, they lied to us here in America. No, they lied to us everywhere. And literally, there's a handful of people who benefit from the way it is these days. And I'm not saying go out and find those people. I'm just saying, like, from their perspective, I see why they do it. Most of the time, people are wild. And, for every smart, intelligent person that you can come across, that you can reason with, there's, 50 that are totally mob-ruled maniacs that'll believe whatever the hell whoever tells them to believe, and will act on that. So, that's kind of freaky. And it goes both ways, in this world we're in today. So I think a little escapism is needed in this day and age. I think if people had more escapism, like true escapism, because, if you look at entertainment these days, it's no wonder why everything is taking a shit. Every movie is flopping. Every game is flopping. At least every mainstream thing is flopping. Because they keep pushing the same crap. You call it whatever you want to call it. Wokeism or whateverism. They keep pushing something that nobody wants, or at least not a lot of people want. And it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm a libertarian really at the end of the day. I don't care. I want small government and I want people to mind their own fucking business. But for whatever reason, people have just gone apeshit the last few years. I mean, you can throw out however many theories you want, but it's like, you can't tell me that you haven't noticed that people have gotten a little goofy in the last, couple of years. And the world just seems like it's on edge. It's waiting for something to happen. And nobody knows what's going to happen. They're just waiting for something to happen. And that's me, myself included. I'm not free from this. I'm a victim as well. But it's up to us how we react to it. Like I said, for every one person, there's a 50 mob rule. So it's like, what do you do when the mob comes to you and for whatever reason and tries to get you? What are you supposed to do? So I don't know what's going on in the world. I just know that people aren't liking the message getting pushed by whoever's pushing it. And you can just see that by the state of the entertainment world and its various divisions, And that's it's too bad that they don't just listen to the people. I mean, I'm a Star Trek fan. Like I said earlier, my heaven would be Star Trek. But when I think of my heaven, it doesn't consist of Star Trek Discovery or, any of that bullshit timeline. And it's like they have destroyed that show. Don't get me wrong, I'll always watch Star Trek, and I'll always love Star Trek, and I'll always give it a chance. And I gave Star Trek Discovery a chance. I even watched a couple episodes of that fucking Starfleet Academy, which is so horrible. Holy Jesus Christ. You give me that budget, and I'll come up with some Star Trek that people will watch. Like even, I tried Picard out even, I tried all the new stuff out, just so I wouldn't be a total, oh, I'm not watching that because Nerdrotic told me not. No, I'm not one of those people. I watched it for myself, and I'm not gonna lie, Star Trek Picard wasn't as horrible as everybody made it out to be. It was shit Star Trek. It should have just been called something else. But it wasn't that horrible. First season and the second season were very disjointed, and they didn't really, the third season finally was good, but it was made by somebody that gave a shit about Star Trek. And that's all it takes. Hire fans. Give me the damn fan service. Quit trying to, redo everything. And they did the same thing in Star Wars. They fucked that up too. And Nobody wants it. And it's like, could you imagine being like a stockholder in those companies? Like a stockholder in Disney? Oh my God. Just losing money constantly to placate the loudest 1% of people? Fuck. Millions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Disney hasn't made a good movie in years. And everybody keeps telling them what they need to do. Same with Star Trek. They haven't made good Star Trek in fucking years. Besides the one season of Picard, that pretty much is just the 8th season of Next Generation after 30 years. And don't get me wrong, we're all thankful for that. But, yeah, man, I don't get it. I don't get why these movie companies, I mean, I do get it. They hate people. The people running the show over there at all these entertainment companies are a bunch of political activists, and they just hate people, and they hate everything, and they think anybody that disagrees with them is a fascist and a Nazi and all that shit. And they make what they want to make, you know. And then they tell me, to get fucked and not watch it if I don't want to, if I don't like the way it's going, and I say, okay, I won't. And then they say, that racist, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic guy didn't watch our show that we told him not to watch and get fucked on. And then the show flops, and then we repeat. And it's hilarious to watch it just go over and over again. And I just don't get it. Just do what people want. You know, make the show people want. And you wouldn't have any issues. No. So anyway, rant over. That's all. That's why I'm thinking about this book. And you know, the reason I'm sticking with more of a traditional illustration aspect with things, because you know, I know there's AI out there, and I've tried it out. I've taken some of the illustrations that I've made and like totally prompted it into an AI generator, and it's shit out some stuff, and it's okay. But like as an artist, I can't ever see myself doing that. I'll be sticking with the traditional hand-drawn stuff for my books, even though it would be faster to use AI, because that's going to be part of my selling point of my work, you know, of my graphic novel, is that it's all hand done. There's no AI bullshit going on. And yeah, and that's all it's going to be. So how are we going to differentiate that that's the ice? We'll make like little dots and stuff. Okay. Yeah, so it's like, this book would be a good series, you know. It'd be a good series of books to have, you know, because you'd have so many adventures to do, it'd be hard to cover them all in one thing, you know. And then the current graphic novel I'm working on is meant to be a series as well. And as an artist, there's no better thing, at least to me, than creating your own series and selling it to a publishing company or whatever, and just being able to make those books. You know, you wouldn't have to come up with new ideas all the time. I mean, you would, but not so much to a degree. And that would be a dream come true, to be able to get a publisher, you know, get my book idea in and get that series going, and then get this book idea in and get this series going, and just be able to have, you know, 2 successful series, or I could bust out a couple books a year in each one, and then, you know, maybe like 1 offshot book a year of something random, you know, some random, totally not related offshot book of something else. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. So that's what I'm kind of shooting for and hoping for, and we'll see what happens. But I'm hoping so. Takes time and work, though, you know. Life doesn't stop just because you got a dream. Still gotta buy the kids snow pants and go to work. Still gotta, you know, take care of sick kids and give people, you know, give your buddies a ride when they need it. There's an old timer that I give rides to. He's an old guy. He used to run a building, manage a building, collect the rent and clean it up and all that kind of crap. Snow removal and repairs and whatnot, just like a building super, I guess. And it was like kind of an old, like imagine like an old frat house, like an old baron's house. When I say baron, like a robber baron, you know, like think of an old mansion frat house that's been converted into single room occupancies. So that's the place that I managed for a guy. And one of the people that lived there was this old timer, and he had fucked up a lot in his life, but he's old and he's got COPD now, and he's slowed down quite a bit, and not from the area, really, didn't really know a lot of people, so I kind of helped him out. And after I moved out of there, when I got custody of my son, and him and I moved into a bigger apartment, I still kept in contact with the old guy, and I try to hang out with him as much as I can. And go over there and just say hi to him and stuff. I mean, he's got friends now in the area, and people go and visit him, but try to give him rides so he doesn't have to take the bus all the time. And he throws me a 20, which is great. You know, sometimes I don't take it if I got the money, but, you know, I'm part of the 120 million that, you know, live paycheck to paycheck, so I take the money. But, you know, I'm just saying life gets in the way, and I'm plugging away at it, though. Trying to keep the dream alive. Almost done with the book. Here's my graphic novel. I mean, I got those pages done and those pages done, and I'm almost done with the rough draft, and then I can start the final draft, which will be nice. So, I want to make that look all, you know, papery and stuff, like it's all effed up and like the paper is kind of wilting and stuff. Yeah, we want this to kind of look like a map that, you know, some dude brought back from a mission, you know, or a expedition that he survived or barely survived or whatever, you know. That's what we're shooting for here. Old maps are cool, you know. If I had a ton of money, extra money, I would collect old maps. I do collect, you know, atlases and stuff. Old books. I like old books. They got a lot of value to them, you know. Yeah, so I want to make this thing look as kind of weathered and like it's been through the hell and back. It's a good skill to learn how to read maps, people. You know, don't forget that stuff. Technology is great and all that, but don't trust it for I guess what I'm saying is don't lose your independence, I guess. Don't voluntarily lose your independence to complacency, to comfort, you know. Simple things like learning how to read a map can really save your ass if you need it, you know. Little things. I was trying to explain it to my son the other day. You know, we live by Lake Superior and goes swimming every summer, but he's never learned how to swim. I said, well, shit, man, you need to learn how to swim. It's a valuable thing, you know. I grew up in California. I could swim before I could walk. And now he's in school, and he's like, well, I don't want to take the swimming thing, and blah, blah, blah. And I talked to the teacher, and I told her, I'm like, I'm not really comfortable with him taking a swimming class. He doesn't know how to fucking swim, you know. And she goes, well, this will teach him how to swim. So as soon as I heard that, I said, oh, you're in. And he's in. And that's that. And now he'll learn how to swim. And he's a kid, you know, so he's just a smart ass, and he thinks he knows everything. And he goes, well, what am I going to need it for? I'm never going to be swimming. And it's like, you never know that. I say that shit too. And I'm like, well, why do I need to do that? I'm never going to be in that position. Well, you never know. Your plane could freaking crash when you're flying over the ocean. You never know. And then what are you going to do, smarty pants? You know? Alright, let's start making some waves. Very faint. We'll just make some little around our islands. Just to kind of make it look like there's a little disturbance around. Oh, that'd be so cool if this was a map, you know. Imagine it, you're at some tavern in London, England, after you've returned from your expedition, and you're at the tavern, and you're regaling, you know, the entire bar with your expedition, and people are laughing at you and talking shit, and you pull out some kind of gold or some kind of proof. You throw it on the table, and people are like, oh. And, you know, say you're at, you know, the bars is where they picked up everybody. That's where they shanghaied sailors. That's where they, you know, find their crews for their ships. You know, they go to the bar. and find workers and stuff, and that's why a lot of the bars were kind of right on the water. So anyway, just imagine that, and you pull out this map, and you show people, and they're like, "Whoa, that's ridiculous," you know, what the hell is heresy, you know, and it would be cool. But say one of them says, "I've heard of that place. Yeah, you know, we should go there again." You say there's all these riches and treasures of all kinds to be had, and beautiful women, and, you know, whatever, you know, plenty of land and resources. Let's go. I got the ship, I got the crew, I got the money to make it happen. And that's basically how my book's gonna go. And then they're gonna, you know, travel to these places, and shenanigans will ensue. We'll have some adventure, we'll have some drama, some thrills. Who knows? I gotta see if my other book does anything first. Even if it doesn't, I'm still gonna do this. You can't just give up after one hit, you know? I made a coloring book that I put on Amazon, and it didn't do anything, so I took it off of Amazon. That's what I don't like about the self-publishing thing, is, to me, it's not a sign of achievement, because anybody can self-publish a book. But I must have talked too much shit or something about Amazon, because, like, I got my book out, and then I changed the cover for the book, and I re-uploaded it, and they said, "Nope, everything's all wrong, do this, do that." So I did it, and then I tried to re-upload it, and they said that they kept saying the same thing. It's like their computer is stuck on, when it sees me, it's like, "No, you're wrong, you did this." And they're like, "We can't make that book. We cannot make the book that we made last week and sent to you." And then they literally sent me a copy of it right here, not for sale. This is all I was trying to do, is change this cover into this cover, and I've never been able to upload it ever since. So I did all that shit for nothing. You know? And it kind of irks my bones, so I'm very apprehensive about the whole self-publishing bullshit, if you ask me. And I know some people have found success, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure for some things it is good. For what I was trying to do with it, it wasn't good, you know? And if you see how it works, it's like, if you go to Amazon and look up coloring books, you know, it'll give you about 10,000, you know, queries to go look up.